Okay, welcome back. So, in the previous episode, we got Space Jump, we killed a bunch of Metroids. That was about it. Unfortunately, that kind of is all Metroid 2 is about, is just get new thing, kill Metroids, rinse, repeat. Now, that's not to say that it's a bad thing. It's just, that's what it is. And I think for a Game Boy game, that's perfectly fine. I know the 3DS remake adds a bunch more to the game. Obviously, the core is still go to area, kill Metroids. But I know there are, like, some other things in the game. More bosses in particular. Some very challenging bosses from what I understand. I can't wait to get the best item in the game. Well, in my opinion, the best item. I would say it's arguably the best item, which we will be getting in this episode, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's because we do get it in the 4th area. And it makes the space jump a whole lot better because, well, I won't spoil it. Anyone who's played a Metroid game already knows what I'm talking about, but I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't. Although, this is... I wouldn't recommend this as your starting point. I would probably say Zero Mission or Fusion are better starting points for 2D games. But I realize that those games aren't quite as accessible. That's unfortunately the truth with Metroid games is they don't make a whole lot of Metroid games. Like, it's never been Nintendo's popular series like Zelda or Mario. So, Nintendo just... It's one of those series that's like, oh yeah, I remember this series. Why don't we make one of these games in 10 years? And that's basically it. And then 10 years later, they'll make another one. Thankfully, I think Dread might have helped convince Nintendo that Metroid is a a very well-loved franchise. It just needed... I think Nintendo definitely is lucky that they have Mercury Steam to help make it. That way, we actually get, you know, a Metroid game, and Nintendo doesn't have to focus on it too much, since Nintendo doesn't seem to really like to focus on anything other than the couple series that make the most money for it. But I digress. So if you have played any of the Metroid games, or all of the Metroid games, I guess, what's your favorite? I know a lot of people will say Super, and I haven't beaten Super, and I think the main turnoff for me is, one, I can't get the wall jumps, and I know in later games wall jumps become far easier to pull off, or far less necessary. And the other thing is the run button. In Fusion and all later Metroid games, they removed the run button, and Samus's default speed is just faster in general. And I think that was a good change, because it was just so... Again, I've tried playing Super, and it's just really awkward to hold down the run button. And the shoot button and the jump button at any... all together. I know that doesn't really happen a whole lot, but it can, and it's kind of awkward to do. I think maybe if they had tied it to, like, the bumper buttons, it might have been a little different, but I don't remember if those were used for something else. I think those might have been for swapping between the items. Alright, so these things are just platforms. I think they're primarily here so that if you haven't gotten used to the space jump yet, you can just use them instead, although they're definitely a lot slower and a bit more tedious. So there are two rooms in this sort of minor section. One has an energy refill, and I think obviously an Alpha Metroid, and then the other has the missile recharge station and a Gamma Metroid. So depending on what you're hurting on the most, or what you think you'll need the most before leaving the area, do that one last. I knew that I wasn't hurting too much on health, and probably wouldn't be hurting too much on health. My apologies, I did not mean to blast you with a missile, I meant to blast you with the plasma beam. I feel like both would be terrible fates, but I don't know. I feel like the plasma beam might be worse, because it's essentially... It's essentially incinerating the the living thing. I mean, both would be terrible, but terrible, terrible pain. But I'm just wondering, like, what would be worse? So these ones like to pull a Mega Man on you and disappear while you're platforming on them. I don't even really understand why they left them here. I guess just so if you haven't gotten used to the space jump yet, I guess. I don't know. Come on. You might be thinking at this point, wow, this is... fighting this many Gammas and Alpha Metroids is getting pretty boring. And you would be correct. But honestly, I would rather fight them than the next form, which will be one of the next things that we do. Because as you can tell, there was an earthquake, which means that the next section of the game just opened up. Alright, so let's head out of here. Now, I guess getting back to my topic from earlier, what is your favorite Metroid? I don't know. I don't know what my favorite would probably be. I mean, I like Zero Mission, and I like Fusion a lot, and I like Dread. I think all three of those games are really good games. I think Dread could be a good starter game, but it is definitely harder than the other two. I think Zero Mission is a better starting point, since it gives you essentially the same sort of experience as the original Metroid, without all the nonsense of the original NES game. Because, yeah, the original NES game has not aged very well. And I think Zero Mission does a really good job at fixing a lot of the issues that the original game had. Specifically the copy and paste thing, which obviously is still a problem here to an extent. In that game, it was even worse. But yeah, Zero Mission fixes that. It adds in a lot of the quality of life updates from Fusion and Super Metroid. And I just think that it's a more beginner-friendly game compared to, like, Super Metroid. Because Super Metroid, of course, is a very well-done game. It's very fun to break. Now, these things, I think you can only destroy with missiles. There's kind of the weirdest thing in the game, in my opinion. They look like they were just kind of ripped from another game. Because, like, they just look pixelated and don't really look like anything else in the game. Alright. So, over this way is how we get into the fourth area of the game. And there's a game blocking our path. But thankfully, we're in a low ceiling. So he can't just go all over the place. Which is the main reason why I don't like fighting them in sort of the large rooms. Did take a bit of health, though. And unfortunately, there really aren't a whole lot of energy refill areas in this area. There's one, and it's kind of, unfortunately, guarded by another Gamma Metroid. And unfortunately, I don't think about it before going there, because this is probably the single most damaging area for me personally in the entire game. This area essentially requires you to use space jump to get through all the spikes. So if you haven't gotten used to it, you're gonna have a tough time going through here. Again, get used to it. That's a Gamma Metroid. Usually we see these guys evolve. And meet my least favorite of the four Metroid forms, the Zeta Metroid. Zetas are fast, they're annoying, you can't hit them from the bottom, and this one is unfortunately placed in a bunch of sand, which means trying to even hit him is kind of a pain in the ass. And this guy takes a lot of health out of me, because I was not fully prepared to deal with them. Try and clear out some space so that we can actually do this. That fireball hurts a lot. likes to dive bomb you and stuff. Unfortunately, we don't have something to kind of knock them around ourselves. I can't remember exactly how many missiles this guy takes, but it is quite a few. If you can get him stun locked, he's not too bad, but the problem is he likes to hover all the way at the top of the screen, which makes it really difficult to actually get to him. There we go. Wow. Yeah. That was probably the most damage that I've lost, or most damage that I've taken from any given Metroid in the game. And of course, I'm going to end up taking a bunch of pod shots by the spikes, because I can't get into space jump when I've been hit, and there's no place to land. Samus is in her suit, like, why did I choose this as a profession? Alright, so, unfortunately, they do put spikes on the walls, so you can't just stand on them. So, up here, there's a room above us. That is where the energy refill station is. Unfortunately, it's guarded by a Gamma Metroid, and I don't think I really have the health to deal with him right now, so we gotta go with Plan B. This is the only area in the game that provides 2 energy tanks. There's one... Of course they put that guy there. There's one at the very top of this room in a hidden shaft, I guess. I don't know what you would really call it. At the very top of the room. And then there's one not too far from here as well, but that one's kind of more annoying to find. Or it's easy to find, it's hard to get to. Because it's it's a rock tunnel, essentially, because it's all dark inside, and if you don't have a map on hand, it can be kind of annoying to navigate. And even with a map on hand, it's kind of hard to navigate. Because, I mean, I did play this, I had a map on hand, and I would recommend doing that, especially for your first time. But even then, playing with a map, especially in the first 2 games, is highly recommended since there is no map feature in the games. Now, in Super and Fusion, unless you're like trying to get all the items, you could probably get by with just the in-game map. But if you're going for 100% like I try to with most of these type of games, having a map on hand, at least towards the end, just to try and find where all the things are, is pretty handy. Alright. This area loves this type of room. They spam the spiked rooms. And it is, I'll be honest, pretty annoying. How back is this thing? Alright, so thankfully this is just Gamma. At this point, it's just Gammas and Zetas in this area. I can't remember how many Zetas there are. I want to say at least 4. Alright. Thankfully, I think the first room like this that we went through was the longest. So this is considerably shorter compared to that one. Alright, so now that we've killed that one, we have a few things we need to do. One... Oh, that was anticlimactic. Alright, so we're actually going to fall the way down here, because I didn't get the space jump. Come on. It's just such a far fall. Like, that's the worst part, is these large rooms. It just takes so long to scale back up after you've already fallen, like, all the way down. So, we're actually going to go ahead and clear out this Gamma Metroid up here. Now, this is probably one of the more annoyingly placed Gamma Metroids, because of the fact that there's really no solid floor to stand on. So, and it's very easy to accidentally fall back down into the previous room. Now, I'm not sure if damage carries over or not. It feels like this fight takes quite a while just because I go between rooms a couple times by accident. Come on. Yeah, like that. Again, it is very easy to accidentally fall off. That's what you want. You want him to be so close that you can just rapid-fire missiles. And for a boss later down the road, well, the only sort of real boss in the game, being able to rapid-fire missiles like that is very important. Alright, so how do you get that missile pack? Well, you can't get it from down here. You gotta go back up onto that ledge. Yeah, there's no blocks in this game that are destroyed specifically by missiles besides, I think, those brown blocks or rocks or whatever that we saw earlier. Because, like, in later games, there are blocks that can only be destroyed by missiles. And they have, like, little missile symbols on them after you tried to destroy them once. Alright. So I wanted to clear that guy out first before we did anything else, so if we needed help, we could run back over here and not have to worry about it. Alright, now let's go and get the next big item in the game. And probably the most recognizable item in the game. In any Metroid game, for that matter. But first, we have to deal with the Metroid. Not just any Metroid, a Zeta Metroid. So I think this is... Is this number 2 or 3? If you can get them down into a low ceiling like this, I find them to be a bit easier, because they obviously still do clip through the ceiling like that, but they tend to stay low enough that they can't, like, just go flying around a bunch. That's really kind of the easiest way to take care of them, is by getting them into a low ceiling. And, of course. Oh, it's stupid bombs. Alright, can't go through that door. That's, it's just a fake door. Maybe it's locked, I don't know. These Chozos don't put keys anywhere. Alright, So I find hitting these blocks, like with the bombs, to be very picky. Because it seems like I should have destroyed it with that first bomb, but apparently it's the brick right next to it. Struggling way too much finding this block. Alright. The screw attack. The most recognizable item in the game, and it just decimates anything it touches, besides Metroids, obviously. Metroids are unfortunately immune to the screw attack damage-wise. Now, that being said, you're also immune to them when you're in the screw attack. So take advantage of that. I know I will be. Okay. So now that we have that, we can go ahead and move on. Well, not quite move on to like the next area. We still have some more we have to explore and do in this area. Go ahead and clear away this bramble. So the screw attack makes the space jump way more effective. Now you don't have to worry about avoiding enemies while in the space jump. Alright, so go this way, another spiked hallway. As you can probably guess, there's going to be a Metroid at the end of this. Another Zeta Metroid, unfortunately. Again, hitting him from the bottom doesn't do anything. You gotta hit him either from the front or the back. But if you have the screw attack, you can actually run into them while you're in the screw attack and it won't hurt you. You can kind of push them around. It's a little more effective against the next form, in my opinion, than these guys, because these guys are a lot faster, a lot more spry. But yeah, I think the Zetas are probably the ones I have the most trouble with. I think it's just because they're fast. Fast and kind of annoying to hit. Alright. So over there is just the Metroid husk. There's nothing else over here. We need to actually go up. Not down, Samus. Up. You were tempted by the health, Samus. Well, yeah, to be fair, might as well take the health when you can get it. Alright, at this point I don't want to tempt fate. Okay, so in this room... Well, hold on. Nope, wrong room. My bad. Thinking ahead here. There's a room just above us. Health, please. This room right here. So, because the game doesn't stack beam weapons like in Super Metroid, it actually gives you the opportunity to switch your beam if you don't want the beam that you currently have. So all of these rooms have a different beam weapon in them. I don't remember which one's which. You just have to go through and figure it out. I'm going to stick with the plasma beam because I don't really want to switch. I don't really find a real reason to switch at this point because the plasma beam is just so much more powerful compared to the other beam weapons. And there will be another chance to switch out to the ice beam later if you want to. Well, anyways, so unfortunately there is one thing that we need to do over here. There is another Metroid down the spiked hallway. I find going above to be a little easier than going below these spikes, but it's kind of whatever you feel most comfortable with. Alright, cool. It's just Gamma. Thankfully, Gammas you can hit from the bottom, so... as long as, you know, they stay on the screen. There we go. Alright. I think that's the last Metroid in this area. There's the earthquake. But we're not quite done. So we got 2 more items, I want to say, in the area. One of which we don't technically need to get. I mean, we don't technically need to get any of the items, but if I want to say that I 100% of the game, then I kind of have to. So at the very top of this shaft, if you feel like you're about to lose the space jump, hug the wall. Well, hug the wall that has the little lips, so that you don't fall all the way back down. That is probably the most disheartening thing in the game. Is when you fall all the way back down the shaft. You just spent a bunch of time climbing up. Alright, so this can take a while. This is what I would recommend having a map for. So there is a breakable block where you first land. And if you go to the right, there's a missile pack. Now, unfortunately, yeah, one eternity later, I just kind of cut that part out because it's just me rolling around in the dark for like 5 minutes or something. It's pretty ridiculous, not gonna lie. There's really nothing that I can kind of say to really kind of help you with that part, other than, you know, look at a map. So that energy tank is optional. Well, if you don't have all the energy tanks at this point, and you want all of them, that's a way to do it. Unfortunately, you cannot go out through that Metroid husk. Unfortunately, that is one of the few Metroid husks that you can't go through. Now, here's the problem, is the fact that there are breakable blocks, and you can't really see them. I think we're just kind of rolling around in a circle. Okay, so that's, I believe, where we just came out of. There must be a breakable block here or something. Oh, nope, never mind. That is actually the way out. Yeah, I really don't have any suggestions for that. Just try your best. It can take a while if you're... Try your best and have a map. Alright, let's go ahead and refill on missiles. And this is the point where I realize that I don't have all the missiles. But that will have to wait until next time. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.